Hello everyone, welcome to the Jira tutorial video series. In this video we will talk about how to configure the workflow in Jira. Workflow is nothing but a set of steps that your issue passes through from start to finish. You can configure different workflows for different projects. In order to configure the workflow, you must have a Jira administrator permissions. So assuming you are a Jira administrator, you go to this administration section and click on issues. You click on issues, you see this on the left side panel. There will be a section for workflows, and which has two items, workflows and workflow schemes. When you click on workflow, it lists down all the workflows that are configured in your Jira to active and inactive. Active workflows are workflows that are associated with a workflow scheme and actually associated with a project. So any workflow that is associated with a project through a scheme is an active workflow, and the workflows that you have created but not yet associated with a project will be listed down in an inactive workflow, meaning these workflows are not in use. Now before we go to the workflow, as I said, the definition of workflow is is a set of steps that your issue goes through. Let's understand what the statuses are. So just on this you see issue attributes, and there will be a section called status. Now these are the status that are by default provided by Jira. The status is, let's say, open. Another status is in progress, or is something you resolve and it's not yet fixed, so you again reopen it. Resolved, closed is something you are done with it. Done is also something you are done with it. And if you want to add another status, you can always add it, like the one I have added as new. So you can add it, or you probably want to add something like need more info. That means you assign it to someone where you need more information about this the issue. You just say need more info. So these are all the statuses. Now we will use these statuses in order to configure our workflow. So I go back to workflows, and I will probably take you through a workflow that's already there. So you see there are workflows, simple issue tracking workflow, which is for a project, and there's a Jira default workflow. This is a default which comes in with Jira when you install it. It shows it as 5 steps, and when I view, it gives me a diagrammatic view like this when I click here, and a text view which is probably easy to read. And so this is how your workflow will look like once you configure it. You see here there's a step name, and then the linked status to that step, and then there are transition IDs. So from this step to this step, what is the transition, and with the status. So if I read this first row, it will show up like the step is open, so link status is open. So if your status is open, it can go to either in progress or resolved or closed. So if you have an open status and you want to start working on it, you can say start progress, and the status will change to in progress. If you just directly want to resolve it, you say open to directly resolve, and the status will change to resolved. Or if you close the issue, the status will change to close. So this is one. Then if it's in progress, for example, you have started from open to in progress, and currently it's in progress. Again, from in progress, you can either stop the progress if you have stopped working on it, or you can resolve it or close it. So these are the linked states, and there are some properties which we will see later in an advanced section. But here you can see the steps incoming and outgoing, simple. Alright, so I go back to workflows. Now we will create a similar workflow here. I will say, in order to create a workflow, click on this add workflow button. You give a name, test workflow. description is not mandatory, so I leave it and click on add button. When you click on add button, it comes up with this step name, linked station ID, exactly what we saw there, and then the operations, add transition, edit and workflow. So my initial status is open, so when an issue is created it will go to open status. Now I want to create an need from here, just add transition. So which other transitions it can go through? I will say it will go through in progress, right? That's a normal why did it go nowhere? Okay, so what happens is, first of all, you have to define all the step names. So I'll say in progress is another, and the link status will be in progress. There is another that will say a need more info, and the link status will be need more info. There's another I want straightway closed, and say status will be closed, but I also want something that is called reopened, and status is reopened. I'll say reopened. So these are the 5 statuses that an issue will have, and now I have to define from open where it can go. We'll add a transition here and say from open it goes to start working. So when you say start working, it will go to it should go to in progress. So the destination step is in progress. It can also go to, I also want it to go to need more info. If it's in open and I want it motion, I will add one more transition here which will say more info required, or it would just say need more info, and the destination will be need more info. This is the transition screen, meaning once you click on that button called need more info, a screen will come up which will allow you to add the details that you want. So currently probably we just want workflow screen which will have couple of fields there. It can also go to resolve, it can go to closed. Yes, so I'll say closed, and closed is the status, and a resolve issue screen for finally putting the comments. Okay. And then from in progress I would say to go to close issue, so closed, and a resolve issue for that closed transition. It can go back to open. Yes, I want it to go back to open, so open issue, so open, and no transition will be done. That's how you go getting your transition here. Here I will say, now I'll just make it real quick, closed, and resolve issue screen. From closed transition, but from reopened I will say to start working, and in progress, and then say you may directly want to close it, so close issue. This is how you create a workflow, and it says active. I'll go back to my workflow screen and see that it's inactive yet. Yep. So I want to associate this with a scheme and then with a project. So because I cannot associate a workflow directly to it, I have to associate it with a scheme. So I have this scheme already. Do I want to create another scheme and do that? Yep, I'll probably add a workflow scheme. So I'll say my test workflow scheme, I'll say add, and that gets added in an inactive section. And workflow, I'll say add existing, so test workflow is something that I will add here. Click on next, and for what issue type. So this is very important again. For a project you want a different workflow for a defect and different workflow for bugs, right? So probably this workflow I only want it for bug, so I'll click on bug and say done. For all other issue types, Jira default workflow, which has something different steps probably, right? So you can create your own workflows even for different issue types. It's done. So your test workflow scheme is also done. As you can see here, I'll go back to it will be inactive because currently we do not have it associated anywhere, but it says that unassigned types Jira workflow and bugs will have the test workflow. Go to the project, open my sample project, and go to workflows, and switch scheme. I'll click on switch scheme in order to switch the scheme, and I'll select test workflow scheme. I'll say associate. If there are any issues already created, probably it will give me the indication that there are issues created. So currently there are 6 issues created which were in done status earlier. Now there is no done, so I'll say closed. We will go to open. So that's it, associate. If you are doing it fresh for a new project, you will not get this screen, but because there was already an existing project and I had issues created for with a different workflow, it started doing that. So here, test workflow, and test workflow, and it is actually probably. So I go to workflows again, Jira workflow. Because I think there is no issue type as bug. That's the reason it's not showing here. There is no bug in sample project. So that's how you create it and then associate it with the project. There is a lot more that you can do with workflows, like validations and adding conditions. For example, if the issue is closed, it should be immediately given, assigned to probably a project lead. So those kinds of post conditions and validations as well can be put, which we will see in next video.